With an overwhelming vote of 85 to 35, Mississippi lawmakers voted in favor of efforts to change their state's flag. The current flag, adopted in 1894, features the Confederate battle banner. Saturday's resolution passed in the House will allow lawmakers to consider a bill to change the flag. Since Saturday's resolution required a larger majority than the bill itself, the new flag is all but guaranteed. For more on this, let's go ahead and bring in CBS News reporter Kate Smith. Kate, good to have you with us. Let me make sure that we understand what just transpired. The last state in the United States to feature this Confederate symbol on their flag is now moving forward with legislation to remove it, and the governor has changed course, now saying that he will sign the bill. So go ahead and walk us through what happens next.
That's exactly right. Today has been a truly historic day for Mississippi. We started this morning, like you said, with the governor changing course on how he felt about the flag. Up until literally this morning, he said he would probably not sign a resolution that would change the flag. Instead, he wanted voters to vote on it this November. But he changed course this morning, which has signaled to many in the state who are undecided in the Capitol about where they should go. Earlier this afternoon, the House of Representatives voted to, it was a procedural vote, but it's tremendously important. They voted to adjust the rules so that they can introduce the flag legislation. And like you mentioned, that requires a larger vote than the actual flag legislation itself. So it's a very good sign that once the flag resolution does come through, they will be successful. And any moment now, we are expecting the Senate to vote on a similar procedural vote that, again, will kind of indicate where the Senate will go when eventually the flag resolution gets to them.
And Kate, the resolution states that a commission will be created to come up with a new design for the state flag. What more do we know about this, and what needs to happen before any new design is made official?
So assuming that all of these votes are successful and the governor signs this into law, what will happen next is a commission will be created. And through that commission, they will create a few different options for a new state flag for Mississippi. There are several options that have been floated around. One includes the state seal in the center of the flag, and underneath it says, "In God We Trust." Another option is something that people call the Stennis flag. Now, interestingly enough, that is a flag that was designed by the granddaughter of a U.S. senator who was a staunch segregationalist, but of course his granddaughter has very different views on, racism and our society today. And she actually was prompted to design a flag that did not include the Confederate battle emblem that you're looking at right now. So those are kind of the two front runners that we're looking at. But again, anything is possible. So what happens next is once those designs are created, they would go to a ballot in November where Mississippians would decide what flag would be the new state flag.
What an interesting allegory there. The granddaughter of a segregationist working to try and dismantle the symbol of racism in her state. But Kate, this isn't the first time that we're seeing a proposal to change Mississippi's flag. A vote was held in 2001, but at that time, 64% of people voted against removing the Confederate battle banner. This time around, though, Republicans and Democrats cheered when the vote passed to change the flag. I actually even want to quote the Republican Speaker pro tem, Jason White. He said, quote, "We're not moving further away from our founding fathers' visions. We're moving closer to them." This is a major perspective change. Is it really all tied to a new awareness stemming from these conversations that we've all been having following the killing of George Floyd?
That is absolutely right. And I'd love to point out that when state lawmakers began looking at this earnestly just 2 weeks ago, it was not popular. There were many people who were against it. They did not have the support in the state capitol, but there were two things that really changed things. The first was a lot of business pressure. You saw the head of the SEC come and say that we will no longer participate in this state for championship games if you continue to fly this state flag. You saw the NCAA come in and say something similar. Many business leaders spoke out about how economically this flag impacts business. They don't want to do business in a state where this is the state flag. So that's one aspect. The other one is the idea that there is a new wave of young progressive voters who simply this flag does not represent them. I was speaking to one really inspiring activist. He's 22 years old, Jarius Adams, and he organized a Black Lives Matter protest in Jackson. To give you an idea, they were expecting about 500 people to show up. 5,000 people showed up to that march. It was considered the biggest protest in the capital of Mississippi since the civil rights movement. So it shows you just the momentum that is building, not just in liberal cities like New York or DC or in California, but it's in all areas of the country. You are seeing a reckoning with just the racism that exists in all corners of our society. And what Jarius was telling me is that the people who are voting on this flag today in 2020, it is a different, spectrum of voters that you saw in 2001. These are younger people. They are more engaged. And the way Jarius saw it is this younger group that is coming up through the ranks. They are the ones that are pushing businesses and politicians to make the change that they want to see in their home state.
Well, it is interesting to see how the demographic shifts have played a part and how young people have really advocated on behalf of change. But I think in some ways it's even more heartening to see people who previously held different beliefs start to recognize that the arc of history is long, but that it better bend towards justice. Kate Smith, thank you.